come. A liberation time come. A long walk time come. Hey, onward freedom fighters one more time. Rocking through the coast, your banners high. Steady at your post. Time to open your eyes. Awake, 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 awake. Wake your brothers, wake your sisters, glorify yourselves. Onward freedom fighters one more time. I say, hey, we are forwarding this time. We are forwarding right now. We are forwarding this time. We are forwarding right now to win our freedom, our God-given rights. Hey, liberation time come. Liberation time come.
We are marching today to stop ISAF. We are marching today for better wages. We are marching today for our children. We are marching today for our safety. We are marching because marching is one of the ways in which we can show that we are not in favor of what is going on. So we are calling on you to join this march. The march began at Buxton this morning with a short meeting. And there will be other ways to stop meetings along the way. At Mon Report, at Success, at Better Hope, and at Pleasant. And this afternoon, we will end with a rally at the Cheddi Market Square. And as I stand before you today as I participate in this march, my mind goes back to June of 1980, when the people of this country marched in honor of one of the greatest sons this land has ever seen, Brother Walter Rodney. And the red band around our heads symbolizes that our feeling on this issue. Among the issues, as you know, Brother Chairman has indicated to you that we are fighting for the restoration of democracy, for the restoration of the rights of our people. Above all, the right of our people to have a government of their choice. You are all aware that the rulers today have hijacked the government as they have done in previous occasions. And our people are once again on the move. And the rulers who have never been elected, White, who has elected himself president, and all his gang assembling today because, contrary to their view, the people of Guyana are demonstrating once again that we have the will, we have the resolve to stand up against these rulers to restore our dignity. Thank you very much, Brother Josh Ramsammy. As Brother Josh said, we will never forget the murder of Walter Rodney. And one of our demands today is that the murderers of Walter Rodney be brought to justice. Walter Rodney! Walter Rodney! Walter Rodney! Walter Rodney! Sisters and brothers, I want to call on the final speaker at this Business Stop meeting, who is no stranger to you, none other than Dr. Cheddi, Jagan of the People's Progressive Party. Comrades and friends, sisters and brothers, we are very happy to see such large numbers today in our march. We are marching for freedom. We are marching for democracy. We are marching for bread. We are marching for justice. All these things have been trampled by the PNC regime. And daily, as you know, conditions of life getting harder and harder. It's almost becoming impossible to live in this country. That is why some of our sisters and brothers are leaving this country, trying to find a life somewhere else. We have to stop this trend. We have to make our country safe under the Hart administration, the workers are being betrayed. We are being sold out. We are being sold out to the IMF and to the World Bank and all these international bandits. And we have, therefore, to march to show our protest. We got to stop a deterioration. We got to stop a decline. Because if we don't strongly protest, the sellout is going to continue and the conditions are going to worsen. Now is the time to get up and get correct. Let us all march to Georgetown today. And let us show Hart and company that we, the people, are determined to get freedom, democracy, and a people's government in Guyana. Thank you very much, Dr. Cheddi. We all must march because all of us are involved.
Freedom we want! Freedom we want! Freedom we want! He can't pay! He can't pay! He can't pay! Can't pay! It can't pay!
Along a walk, time come. Trust not to the river as self-emancipation. It's all up to you. Awake, 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 awake. Pick your colors, pick your sisters, glorify yourselves. The fight is not no time. I say, not surrender. Not surrender.
We are standing up for democracy, for free and fair elections, for an end to all electoral fraud, for an end to the illegal government which has put itself in office and which has brought terrible hardships on the backs of all Guyanese. Today, the standard of living of all the working people is going down, down, down. We are oppressed by high prices. We are oppressed by excessive taxation. The government keeps putting more and more taxes on us. We are exploited by the denial of our rights to genuine free health services, to decent education for our children, for the protection our people need from excessive crime and also from the recent contamination by thallium sulfate. Hoyt and Green say that it was a non-event, that nothing took place. But the reality is that through the carelessness of Gaisuco and through the indifference and callousness of the PNC government, many people have suffered from thallium sulfate poisoning, and contamination does exist, even though they're trying to throw a red herring and say that mischievous persons are responsible. But they are responsible for this threat, this danger to the health of our people taken away. So I say to all of us here, keep up the fight. Let's get to Cheddi, and after Cheddi, let's continue the battle. Thank you.
Liberation time come. Along a walk time come. Along a walk time come. Hey, the fighters of time.
We are on our feet today, and we must resolve not to come off of our feet until the work is done. We must march to final victory. We're calling on them to bring back Gregory Smith to face trial for the murder of Walter Rodney. At the time of the last elections, Hoyt said he could not allow foreign observers because they were meddlers. But I notice on the matter of thallium, he has brought in the foreigners to meddle thick and fast. Yes. We have our experience of sickness. We have our experience of the tests at the hospitals. And Mr. Hoyt and the American Embassy are trying to tell us another thing. The American Embassy is the same people who are trying to tell us there were no rigged elections in Guyana. Bear in mind that no free and fair elected government could have behaved on this thallium issue the way the PNC has behaved. No government supported by its own people would be caving into the IMF the way that the Hoyt regime is prepared to cave in. We say, take the IMF out of Guyana. IMF, no way. No way. The workers need more than 1940 a day. 1940 is an insult. Let the TUC get off their knees. Stop begging. Stand up and demand a decent living wage. The cost of staying alive is rising. It is rising out of reach. The children are suffering. Malnutrition is rising. We are saying, let the millionaires wait their turn. Settle the debts with the Guyanese people. Sisters and brothers, the march today is historic mainly for the fact that for the first time in many, many years in our country, the opposition is united. A united opposition representing the vast majority of our people are taking to the streets to demand safety and justice. The united opposition, and you see before you marchers, not of one race, not of one age, marchers of both major races and the other races, marchers of the young, of the old, sisters, brothers, and above all the working people and the sufferers. This is a march of the sufferers. And as we leave to move on to our business in Cheddi, we want to leave with more than we came into this village with. And we want to say on behalf of those of us who have marched from Buxton that we are extremely grateful for the reception we've received in this freedom-loving village. It moves us that the people of our country, in spite of their suffering and their grievances, in spite of their agonies from morning to night, can turn out in the middle of a Saturday afternoon to welcome people marching for safety and for justice. We are saying to Hoyt, begin a dialogue immediately, it cannot wait. Begin a dialogue with the parties of the opposition for electoral reform. Because without electoral reform, without free and fair elections, Guyana is doomed. Thallium, IMF, the dooms will vary, but the doom will be the same. Without freedom, without the right to choose a government, we are doomed in this country. Hoyt must begin. We must force on Hoyt a democratic opening. Bear in mind that people who grew up like Hoyt in the bowels of dictatorship are no lovers of freedom. We must show them that the Guyanese people have not lost their taste for freedom. Today, we are savoring our freedom and we like the taste of it and we need to continue. I want to say finally that our brothers in uniform who have accompanied us all the way from Buxton have been doing an extremely cooperative work. They have been assisting us and assisting the scouts to keep the march in order and to make sure that the traffic is not overly disrupted on the road. And we want these brothers to understand that this march is also a march for them who are not free to march. Today, we march for all. We march for the majority. We march for the sufferers. And we march in righteousness. Onward to Kitty. Oye! Oye!
war time come now. Long war time come now. Awake, awake, awake. Rise.
Children of 8, 9, 10 and 12, give them a special hand. At the other end of the pole, there were people like me, over 60, some a little more feeble than I, but brave at heart. And in the middle are the salt of the earth, those in their prime, who are custodians of all the energy of the revolution which we have to fight for our freedom and well-being. Our program this afternoon is simple. The Patriotic Coalition called this march to get the people to take part in a fight to better our own conditions, the conditions of the people. To better these conditions in various ways. The coalition was formed because of the denial of the right to vote. And the right to vote does not mean going into a ballot place and scratching a paper. It also means the right to have those votes
honestly counted. Today is the anniversary of Sharpeville, the day when they shot down scores of people in South Africa at the place of that name, representing an extreme form of denial of human rights. There the struggle took a very bloody form of repression. It is not because our struggle here is not very bloody, except for a few selective assassinations and work of bandits. It is not because of that we also do not suffer denials. And today is a day of denial, not only a day when we look at our denials, but a day when we have taken a long step to turning back these denials. And what is beautiful about this step, it is a step taken not by leaders, but by people, men and women, working together. Because one of the things we are denied in Guyana is official respect for the rights of women. They talk a lot about emancipation of women. They are willing to say that. But when a woman wants to be defended against the ravages of some mad beast, there is no official sanction. Such people are promoted. Briefly then, we are denied the means of life. We are denied the right to vote. We are denied the right to a living wage and to decent conditions of life. And I'm sure the speakers will be talking about this living wage. You know that the scandalous offer at present made to the TUC is $19.40 a day after 127% devaluation. And along the march, we are denied the right to take part, like intelligent people, men and women all over Guyana, in deciding the future of this country. And the speakers will spell out for you the fact that the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy has taken a big step to tell the President that we are not going to be left out much longer. And your performance here today is backing up that step.
And there will be other days, such as today, when we will have to continue marching and marching together until we grow stronger and bigger. And those who do not wish to listen to us will be forced to listen to us. We call on you to support this resolution. After all, we could not march 14 miles and more and not come up with demands in black and white to present to this government. Our resolution goes as follows. 1. That this rally of the people in this part of the country, able and ready to struggle in public, first of all, salute all workers who have recently taken action to defend their rights. For example, the shelter belt workers who went on strike on the issue of meal allowances, and the workers of Nyasi and Gawu of Diamond Sugar Estate, who last Thursday lifted the failing spirits of many by their heroic march to the city, noting that both of these actions notably included all races engaged at the respective workplaces. 2, that it is impossible for even a single working man or woman to live on the absurd rate of $19.40 a day. That is less than $1 US per day at rates countenanced by the state, and similarly that of further devaluation or surrender to the IMF is highly unacceptable. 3, that the TUC or any union, insofar as it resists this absurd wage and struggles for a decent wage and supplementary payments, permitting living expenses to be met from wages and salaries, will receive the unqualified moral and practical support of the forces represented here. 4, declare that a commission of Guyanese experts be assembled to immediately review the thallium crisis, seeking necessary assistance and making recommendations. 5, declare that in view of this assembly, it is the almost unanimous will of the Guyanese people that justice be done to Walter Rodney, the assassinated intellectual, and the political hope of the Guyanese people. To his widow, his children, and his widowed mother, sisters and brothers, as well as to those of other victims of this dictatorship. 6. Declare that since the resources of Guyana must come under the control of the entire nation and not of a few families, it is imperative in the interest of progress that the President of Guyana respond positively to demands of the opposition for a democratic opening and democratization by negotiation with the PCD as a first step, a line of motion clearly suggested and indicated both by the new forms of crisis and the distribution of social forces in our small country. 7. Declare that while hailing all the forces, including the Caribbean Church, that work for the maturing of the Caribbean as a zone of peace, and resisting tendencies in conflict with this goal, the social forces here represented will develop conscience and consciousness, agitate and mobilize in every possible part of Guyana. I put this resolution before you for your approval.
Today is another day in another phase in an attempt to bring a new life to our people's struggle, our people's hope. Today, my brothers and sisters, was a march for unity and of unity. Today, my brothers and sisters, was a march for resistance and of resistance. Today was a march of hope, because again and again, as a multiracial people, we must always salute and always give credit to whatever attempt is made in whatever way to bring Indian and African, Chinese and Amerindian, Portuguese and all the ethnic groups of our nation together under one banner and one cause. Today was a march which could be put into the tradition of a powerful slogan which was once coined by one of our most powerful revolutionaries. This was a march of people's power, no dictator. One of the demands we are making on this march, we did not just merely march because we have nothing else to do. We are marching and we have marched and we will continue to march, because in February of this year, 127% devaluation occurred. We are not talking about 10%. 127% devaluation. And we have been told, and it is rumored in this country, and Greenwich has not denied it, that a second devaluation is inevitable. And if this is so, then my brothers and sisters, we in the PCD are saying the people of Guyana cannot take it.
Eusi and I marched together. This was the year of the 1947 elections. And my constituency was indeed the area which we covered in the march today. Cheddi to Buxton. And when I won the seat for this constituency, Cheddi to Buxton, together, Eusi and I, we said this was a people's victory. And from that people's victory, we went on to fight for a fundamental question in Guyana. The right of the people, all the people, without any qualification, to have the right to vote. Because at that time, in 1947, the suffrage, the vote, was restricted by property, income, and literacy qualification. One of our major battles, therefore, was not only to get wages and better working conditions, and to fight against company unionism like we had in the MPCA and the sugar industry at that time, but to fight also for civil liberties, the right to vote, the right to elect a government of the people's choice. We were able to win that victory, the right to vote. Barnum helped in that victory. And so we scored, the people scored in this country a tremendous victory in 1953, unitedly, 18 out of 24 seats. But the imperialists did not want change in Guyana, and they moved in the troops and destroyed that government. Unfortunately, the same man, Barnum, who helped to bring adult suffrage in Guyana, was a man who stole the people's votes and has taken away democracy from Guyana. And today, the Hyde administration is continuing in the footsteps of the Barnum administration. Comrade Chairman, comrades, brothers and sisters, they are there and they can do all this nonsense because mighty forces outside are backing them. And because for too long we have been too quiet. And that's why this march is very important today. So let them begin to understand, in the same way we marched in the 40s, 40 years ago, we can march again and we will get freedom. The Secretary of State for the United States, Mr. Schultz, visited the Far East recently. And he said, in Korea, South Korea, where there's a big brutal dictatorship, he said the United States is in favor of free and fair elections in that country. But the same Schultz State Department report on human rights throughout the world, report of the State Department to the Congress about Guyana, it said there are allegations of fraud in Guyana, but we believe that because the PNC is well organized and because they're in power, that they would have won the last election. Comrades, the United States State Department is speaking hypocritically with two voices because they know this Hyde administration is bending its knees now to the IMF and the World Bank. And therefore, they are prepared to back it, whether they rape democracy or not in this country. This week, the IMF is coming. 1981, when the fourth IMF agreement folded up, workers were earning the budget of a worker and his family of six. Expenses $654. Income $250. That is how the worker was expected to live. When the workers demanded what was squeezed by the government, $14 a day. Barnum tell them, you want $14 or you want Mazzaroni? Hydroelectric. When they press them again, you want $14 or do you want Esquimau? Comrades, what they're telling the TUC now, tell us where to get the money. tell us where to get the money. They are hoping, not only hoping, they are looking forward, they are begging, they are bending on their knees, selling out our country, hoping that we will get a few more dollars. But while they are doing that, while they are doing that, they are putting more blows on the backs of the workers. Professor Clive Thomas has indicated that the 127% devaluation is going to probably cause the cost of living to increase by 50 to 60%. How can the cost of living increase by 50 to 60% and the workers going to get 15% increase in wages? What kind of logic is that? No way! No way! No way! No way! Correct? The way out is to tell the IMF, stay home. Tell the World Bank, stay home. Tell the Americans not to meddle in our affairs. Correct? IMF medicine worsened our position. From 1977 to 1981, this is not my report, my figures, the PCD figures. These are the figures of the World Bank, the IMF itself, in the report of 1982. They said from 1977 to 1981, the economy of Guyana, the rate of growth declined by 9%. Declined. And the inflation rate increased, jumped up from 11% to 29%. In other words, the IMF dose of medicine did not help the people of Guyana. The wages which was paid, which Barnum had agreed to pay in 1979, because of the IMF, they refused to pay. And right now, they're doing the same. Don't pay any wages. Cut down social services. Do other nonsense against the workers. Meanwhile, pay the bandits outside. Do you know how much we're going to pay this year? 1,500 million Guyana dollars in debts. Out of that, nearly 1,200 million will be going abroad. 1,200 million. Comrades, we owe, this country has been put into a state of bankruptcy. For generations to come, we are up to our necks. Your children not yet born are saddled with a debt burden. Foreign debt alone, $1.5 billion American dollars. Multiply that by 20. Don't worry with the 10. 10 don't mean a damn thing now. $1.5 billion American dollars. Multiply that by 20. And what we have to pay this year, I repeat, $1.5 billion Guyana dollars. More than last year, nearly 1 billion more than last year. Why do we have to pay $1 billion more this year than last year and the year before, when things are so bad with the working people? Parents, what we will do now, not only to fight and march for democracy, but to fight and march to call for a suspension of the debt payment and take the money and pay the workers $50 a day.
We have just heard a stirring address by yet another representative of the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy. It is very clear from what we have heard here this afternoon and from what we have seen, the sacrifices and the determination of people to walk as many as 14 miles in the middle of the day to make this protest and to give this lesson, to set this example. It is quite clear that we have on our side, the people have on our side the forces necessary to change the situation. We have the ideas, the forces, the will and the determination. I just want to say to each of you that each of you must be a leader in your own right. What you have to do is to fight backward ideas among the people where you live. Ideas of racial defense. Ideas that perhaps whenever people are fighting the government, it is some race that wants to take over. We have to hit the idea on the head and hit it down and bury it, because that is the very fear that is allowing leaders to trample roughshod over our lives, body and soul. These marches will move on to every part of Guyana. And before I say something more about that, I am going to put the resolution. But I want to tell you that you have already voted. The collection you gave amounts to $504.70. The demands of the PNC, number one, 1940 can't work. Number two, a commission of Guyanese experts to make sense of the thallium crisis. Number three, the Rodney affair, some direct judicial response to the assassination of Walter Rodney and others. Number four, White's response to the very reasonable proposal of the PCD for negotiations to bring about the democratization of Guyana, to save the people from unnecessary bloodshed. Those who are in favor of these resolutions, please let us hear you saying yes. There can be no mistake about your vote. Sisters and brothers, or those who say no, let's hear you. There is none. So the resolution is carried unanimously. And let us carry this fight also unanimously to every corner of Guyana, to every coast and every bank, in every street and every settlement, every village town, and the new villages of the sugar estates. And let us carry the new ideas along with it, that whatever racial problems arise because of the competition imposed by scarcity by the rulers, there is another $10 added to the score. Thank you. There is an overabundance of goodwill. There is already an advanced point of multiracial unity at the political and social level. There is already a common agreement and commitment to work together and fight together until we right every wrong, until we level every path, until we fill up every rut, until all the crooked paths are made straight, and the people of Guyana can walk with our heads high, knowing that we have a living wage, and knowing that we are free to vote and have our votes counted and decide the future of our country and our children.
A liberation time come. A liberation time come. A liberation time come. A long walk time come. Hey, onward freedom fighters one more time. Walking to the coast, hold your banners high, steady at your post. Time to open your eyes. Awake, 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 awake. Wake your brothers, wake your sisters, glorify yourselves. Onward I say, hey, we are forwarding this time. We are forwarding right now. We are forwarding this time. We are forwarding right now. To win our freedom, our God-given right. Hey, liberation time come. A liberation time come.